هذا نزلهم يوم الدين نحن خلقناكم فلولا تصدقون أفرأيتم ما تمنون أأنتم تخلقونه أم نحن الخالقون نحن قدرنا بينكم الموت وما نحن بمسبوقين على أن نبدل أمثالكم وننشئكم فيما لا تعلمون ولقد علمتم النشأة الأولى فلولا تذكرون أفرأيتم ما تحرثون أأنتم تزرعونه أم نحن الزارعون لو نشاء لجعلناه حطاما فظلتم تفكهون إنا لمغرمون بل نحن محرومون أفرأيتم الماء الذي تشربون أأنتم أنزلتموه من المزن أم نحن المنزلون أيوة. لو نشاء جعلناه أجاجا فلولا تشكرون أفرأيتم النار التي تورون أأنتم أنشأتم شجرتها أم نحن المنشئون بل نحن جعلناها تذكرة ومتاعا للمقوين فسبح باسم ربك العظيم فلا أقسم بمواقع النجوم إنه لقسم لو تعلمون عظيم إنه لقرآن كريم في كتاب مكنون لا يمسه إلا المطهرون تنزيل من رب العالمين فبهذا الحديث أنتم مدهنون وتجعلون رزقكم أنكم تكذبون فلولا إذا بلغت الحلقوم وأنتم حينئذ تنظرون نحن أقرب إليه منكم ولكن لا تبصرون فلولا إن كنتم غير مدينين ترجعونها إن كنتم صادقين فأما إن كان من المقربين فروح وريحان وجنة نعيم اللهم اجعلنا منه وأما إن كان من أصحاب اليمين فسلام لك من أصحاب اليمين وأما إن كان من المكذبين الضالين فنزل من حميم وتصلية جحيم إن هذا له حق اليقين فسبح باسم ربك العظيم سبحان الله بحمده سبحان الله العظيم. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put barakah in our rizq, to put barakah in our time, to put barakah in everything that He has given us, and to allow us to use His ni'mah, His bounties, all of His gifts in the way that we can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a long life that is preserved and used for the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that He gives us wealth, enough wealth that we are not in need of anyone from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us beneficial knowledge, give us knowledge that we can benefit from it. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Bismillah. So today, inshallah, we will go over the preparation for the daily prayers. He will start from Dhuhr Salah because he has already explained all the way from waking up till Dhuhr time and what you should be doing and the suggestion that he gave and what are the best things to do, what are the things to avoid. From here he will go into every salat and very briefly he will talk about what are the suggestions that you could do in between those prayers, because we have these four right after each other. They are together. So he says in the beginning, ينبغي أن تستعد لصلاة الظهر قبل الزوال فتقدم القيلولة. You should get ready for Dhuhr Salah before Zawal time, meaning before the time of Dhuhr prayer comes in. You should be ready for that. And he says that you should take a qaylula, take a little nap before Dhuhr. So he suggests a qaylula before Dhuhr. But depending on your timing and your schedule, you could do that after Dhuhr, you could do that before Asr as well. But somewhere between the beginning of the day and the end of the day, something in between, wherever you feel that is best for your schedule, you should schedule even if it's a 15 to 20 minute break. And the latest doctors and people of health, they are discovering that there's a lot of benefit of taking that short nap. Even some businesses are now trying to implement that in their employees so they can be more productive in, making their business better. And Google is also doing it. So, okay, smart things are getting smarter. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let us outsmart them. Al-qaylula in kana laka qiyamun fil layl. So he says an interesting thing here. He says that if you are standing in tahajjud in the night, in the last part of the night, then that's going to be beneficial to you. Otherwise, it will be like eating suhoor and not fasting in a day. So your qaylula is actually to give you strength because you have been standing from tahajjud all the way till the midday, and therefore you take a break. So that's a very interesting discovery here. And then he says, if you are resting before zawal, before dhuhr, then try to wake up by the time of zawal, and you make wudu and you get ready to go to the masjid. And when you enter the masjid again, you do the greetings of the masjid of praying 2 rak'ah, and you wait for the mu'adhin, and then you answer. So he is suggesting that you should be in the masjid before the adhan. Before the adhan. I had a teacher that we could time the adhan by him entering into the masjid. He was always there in the masjid before the adhan goes off. Or at least when he's entering the masjid, the adhan will be going off. So that's how the pious people, they don't wait for the second, for the iqamah to start, and they will enter the masjid or come running to catch that rak'ah, so catching the ruku, so they catch the rak'ah. And then he says the answer to the call of the prayer by what we have mentioned before. And then you pray 4 rak'ah before the Salat al-Dhuhr. So this is something that the Prophet ﷺ had always practiced, and according to what Imam Ghazali is saying, that this is a sunnah mu'akkada. According to the Hanafiya, definitely sunnah mu'akkada, but the most preferred view in the Shafi'i madhab, which is also Imam Ghazali's madhab as well, that these 4 are not as sunnat mu'akkada like the sunnat mu'akkada in the Hanafi madhab. Anyway, they could pray 2 or 4. 4 is something that the Prophet ﷺ used to pray 4 rak'at before Salat al-Dhuhr. And also he mentions later on about the 4 rak'at before Asr. That, according to all the madhahib, especially the Hanafiya, that's غير مؤكدة, meaning that it's not an emphasized sunnah. It's not something that if you leave it on a regular basis, you are sinful. But if you get a chance, it's good to do it, but there's no blame if you do not pray them. But however, the 4 rak'ats before dhuhr, according to the Hanafiya, is sunnah muakkada, and according to one of the views in the Shafi'i madhab, it's also sunnah muakkada. And he gives the hadith that whoever prays 4 rak'ah and he prays them well, makes the ruku' in a very good way, does the sajda with excellence, 70,000 angels pray with him and they make istighfar for him till the night. However, this hadith, similar hadith to this is mentioned, and it says that whoever prays 4 rak'ats after Zawal al-Shams, right, and he does the qira'ah in a good way, and he performs the entire 4 rak'ats in the best or with excellence, then he gets these rewards. So whenever you want to pray Dhuhr Salah, these 4 rak'ats, when you read them, when you say them, remember that 70,000 angels are making istighfar for you. 1 angel is enough, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is honoring the son of Adam that he sends 70,000. Just like in Badr, Allah sent 3,000 and 5,000. 1 angel was sufficient, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is honoring us.
In the Shafi'i madhab, do you break it into 2 and 2?
Yes. In the Shafi'i madhab, the day prayers are best to offer in 2 units. So 2 rak'ats. So normally the Shafi'is, if they pray 4, they will pray with 2 salams, meaning 2 units, 2 units. According to the Hanafiya, it's 4 in 1 salam. 4 altogether. For the 4 rak'ats before Dhuhr and the ones before Asr.
It would be very similar to Dhuhr Asr?
Yes.
Like in the last 2 rak'ats, are you
You,
just saying Surah Fatiha?
no, you recite Surah Fatiha and a surah.
Okay.
Only in Fard Salah, you do only Surah Fatiha in the 3rd and the 4th. If there's only a 3rd, then you do only Fatiha in that 3rd rak'ah. Other than that, other than the fara'id, the 5 fard prayers, in every rak'ah there is a surah and Surah Fatiha. Fatiha and then a surah after that. And then he says after Dhuhr Salah, he says you can do these things that we have mentioned before. He mentions it again. To seek knowledge, to help anyone, to be in the service of people, the creation of Allah, reciting the Quran, or going for your sustenance, for work, for a job, for school, for homework, all of those things. So he says also, he adds another clause to it. He says, أو سعي في معاش تستعين به على دينك. That even if you're going to earn a living, you go to strengthen your deen, not just counting, right? How much went in your account and how much went out, right? But even that you're counting because you want to help your deen, you want to be strong, you want to free some of your time to give your service for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the deen, and to seek knowledge and to do the other three things that mentioned before. So you have enough free time to go and do community service. You have some extra time to recite the Quran, just reciting the Quran. So in that, between Dhuhr and Asr, these four things. And then he says before Asr to pray again 4 rak'ats as we mentioned before. And here he says again, it's Sunnah Mu'akkada. According to most scholars, it's Ghair Mu'akkada. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy on that person who prays 4 rak'ah before Asr, as the hadith says. رحم الله امرأ صلى قبل العصر أربعا. And again he says after Asr you have time, spend in the 4 things that we mentioned. So that's the standard 4 things to do. And then he gives a very interesting advice. And I want Brother Hamza to translate this piece. ولا ينبغي أن تكون أوقاتك مهملة فتشتغل في كل وقت بما اتفق كيف اتفق، بل ينبغي أن تحاسب نفسك وترتب أورادك ووظائفك في ليلك ونهارك وتعين لكل وقت شغلا لا تتعداه ولا تؤثر فيه سواه بذلك تظهر بركة الأوقات. He gives a secret ingredient for barakah in time. We always ask for barakah in money and money and money, but time is more valuable than money. So how do you get barakah in your time? He's giving a key ingredient.
Your time should not be without any structure, such that you occupy yourself arbitrarily with whatever comes along. Rather, you must take account of yourself and order your worship during the day and the night, assigning to each period of time an activity that must not be neglected nor replaced by another activity.
So now they have the formula of, urgent, not urgent, important, not important, in those categories that they have. If something is urgent but not very important, you could delay that. You take something that is maybe not, it's not time restricted, but is important, so you want to do that first. So they have these. So he's saying to assign time for each thing, and then you do not neglect that. You do it. It's not that, okay, I don't feel like doing it now, I'll do it later. Later never comes. So you do it in that time, right? And then if you have time between the 2 things, you put that thing that you could delay, what does it call it? It's not urgent. So you take that and you put it in between and you do it. And that's how you get to do a lot of things in between 2 different things. Understand? Right? You want to listen to a song? A lot of kids, they do the homework while listening to a song, so they put the song in between their homework.
Right.
So you do many things. But multitasking, it's not our nature, right? If you're good at that, do so, good for you. But it's best to do one thing at a time. Some things you could do it consciously and subconsciously. That's how you do a multitasking, like talking on the phone and driving without using your hands, hand-free. That's fine. So you could do that. So consciously You are talking, but subconsciously you are driving. Automatically, everything works. You hit the brakes automatically. Things happen. So, because you're used to it. Anyway, so he says that make sure that you give every time of your 24 hours something to do. Don't just leave it empty. And when you have assigned something to that time, make sure you do it on that specific time. Don't say, okay, I can do it later. I'll do something else in that time. No. It could be a very small thing and something that you have assigned for another time that maybe is more important, but since you have already assigned a time for those two things, just do it in those two times. And we have a problem with our gadgets that things pop up here and there. You go for one thing, 10 other things are in your way, and then automatically you go to that, and after 10 minutes wasted, I was going to go and check my email, and I started reading this article. So delay that. Put it in a box, to-dos list. Have your to-dos notes on the side. So there are ways of doing it with our technologies that we have. So he's giving a kind of very general ingredient to put. So that's how barakah comes in your time. That's how barakah comes in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. And then he says, فَإِذَا تَرَكْتَ نَفْسَكَ سُودًا مُهْمِلًا إِهْمَالَ الْبَهَائِمِ. If you leave yourself free, whenever I get time, I'll do it. It will not happen. You will get to do very few, and you will not do it with excellence, with proficiency, right? Then what will happen? You'll be like an animal. It's time to eat. Whenever sleep, whenever get up. So that's an animal that does not have intellect. We are human beings that Allah has given us intellect. So you don't want to make yourself like any other animal. And then he says that you will waste a lot of time that way if you don't assign time and you don't do the things that you've assigned on that time. You will waste your time, and then you will waste your life. And he says your life, your time that you have, it's the capital of your existence. You waste your capital, you're gone. It's very hard to raise a capital. If you have capital you lose in the business, you can make up for that. Right? People have those analysis, right, for their businesses, where they lost, where they gain. Okay, let's try to make up. But if you lose the capital, you're out of business, you bankrupt, file for bankruptcy, right? So you don't want to waste. That's your time. Your time is your life capital. You don't want to mess with that. And he says that you do business with that capital. And that's your roots to the life that is going to come, the everlasting life. And then he says, فَكُلُّ نَفَسٍ. Every breath that you take from your life is a, how would you translate jawhara? It's a jewel. Precious jewel that has priceless. You cannot put a price to that one breath that I took, because you lose a jawhara, a very precious jewel. There's only one of its kind. You lose it, it's gone. But again, for those worldly things, in another meaning, you could buy something similar to that. But your time that has passed, nothing can bring it back. Nothing can bring it back. Not money, not your influence, or nothing. May Allah give us the reality of these meanings. And then he says, don't be like the fools that they are deluded and they are happy by every day passing by with the increase of wealth, and they are losing where? On the capital. So they're getting money, but they're losing on the precious capital, which is their life. Why? Because that's everlasting. A capital keeps going on. The benefit, the rewards, the trophies, all those things, they come once a while, right? And they come and then you look for another one. But the capital has to stay. That's how the business keeps going. So your life is going to stay forever, it's going to continue, right? And he says, don't be happy except for the increase, not of wealth, but the increase of knowledge and good deeds. These are your companions that are going to stay with you. All the other things that the Prophet ﷺ said, that 3 things go with the deceased, with the dead person: his wealth doesn't even go with him to the grave. It just stops where he stops. Life ended, light is off, the wealth is already distributed to the waratha. As the Prophet ﷺ said that the first thing you should distribute the wealth. And then the family and friends and all of the people that you related to, they accompany you until your grave, and then also they leave. What remains is your good deeds. Your deeds are your companion that will stay with you forever. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the Quran, Al-Baqiyat al-Salihat, the everlasting good deeds. And then he says when it's close to Asr, get ready and prepare yourself to go to the masjid before sunset. So you are there again by the adhan. And then what do? You get yourself busy in the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the glorification, the istighfar, and other du'as that you do before the sunset. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا. Glorify your Lord before sunrise, meaning after Fajr Salat until sunrise, وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا, and before sunset. So if you came there even 1 minute before sunset, you will fall under the mentioning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about those who praise and glorify Allah before sunset. And he says, before Maghrib, say وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَاللَّيْلِ ذَا يَغْشَى and Mu'awwadhatayn. One of the benefits that the scholar mentioned about the Mu'awwadhatayn, saying it, especially Surah An-Nas, at sunset, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect from the shayateen, and you will never face poverty. Never face poverty. And also, if you want to add Surah Al-Waqi'ah, it's best to do it before Maghrib, between Asr and Maghrib. If not, yarhamukallah, to do it after Maghrib, between Maghrib and Isha. Or any time in the evening, you could recite Surah Al-Waqi'ah. He says it should be that you say istighfar, but while the sun is setting, because that's the time when we do not pray, because these are the two very interesting time where the magnetic fields are changing, right? From the sunset, sunrise, things are changing. There's a lot of change in the universe, and therefore scholars say, and most of the scholars agree on this, that kids should not be outside around sunset. They should be inside homes. If they're outside, they should be with adults, with someone, and to recite these adhkar, especially the Mu'awwadhatayn, the last two surahs of the Quran, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, so you get protected. That's where the evil are coming out, the shayateen, the evil jinns are coming out for the night. So to seek protection, to recite the Mu'awwadhatayn is very, very important. And this hadith is narrated by Salama radiallahu anha, that the Prophet ﷺ told her to say these dua: Allahumma inni as'aluka 'inda iqbali laylik wa idbari naharik wa huduri salatik wa aswati du'aik an tu'tiya Muhammad al-wasila, that I seek in the time of the coming of the night, the ending of the day, and the coming of the prayer, the presence of the prayer of Maghrib Salah, and the time when the voices of supplication are raised, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes up the good deeds in the evening and the morning, right? That you give Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam al-wasila. And also to say the whole dua, to complete the whole dua: Allah ati Sayyidina Muhammad wasila al-fadila, ba'athullah maqam al-mahmud alladhi wa'adta. You could add innaka la tukhlifu al-mi'ad, although it's not mentioned in the hadith, as we mentioned before. And then he says to pray the fard after the adhan and the iqamah, and to pray 2 rak'ats after Maghrib without talking, which is according to the Hanafiya Sunnah Mu'akkada, and without engaging in any worldly things, without hello, hi, and all those.
So right after 3 rakat, you just pray 2 rakat.
Yeah, you pray 2 rakats right after that. That's the best. Unless if you really need to say something, you need to respond to someone or talk about something important. But it's best to do it without talking. And then he says it is best to do i'tikaf between Maghrib and Isha. That was the practice of the pious people and the Tullab al-Ilm, the seekers of knowledge. And therefore, the scholars say, Imam Ghazali mentions somewhere, that if you have lost a lot from your life, you could not achieve a lot in your life, and you have, you are in an age where, whatever age that may be, could be the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, but you feel that you missed out a lot in your life, then try to take advantage of 4 times of the day. 4 times of the day. One is before Fajr, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, and a little bit after Fajr, so that's the second. After Fajr, even for 10, 15, 20 minutes, engaging in one of those 4 things that we mentioned before. And the third is after Asr for a little bit, if not, at least right before Maghrib, as we mentioned, to come a little early and to spend a little bit of time, so you are بين طرفي النهار, between the 2 sides of the day, which is just before sunset. And the fourth is the whole time between Maghrib and Isha. The whole time between Maghrib and Isha. If not, at least a little bit of time between Maghrib and Isha, and alhamdulillah, we are in one of those times, the fourth one.
What about Awabin? Is that another?
Yes, that was going to be next, I think, yes.
You mentioned that?
Yes. He says that to awaken the beginning, it's interesting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna nashi'ata al-layli, the portion of the night. So nasha'a, it's something to come back. So it means that, according to some of the mufassirun, like Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that nashi'at al-layl here, it means right in the beginning of the night, which is after sunset, which is between Maghrib and Isha. So nashi'at al-layl is between Maghrib and Inna nashi'at al-layli ashaddu watan wa aqwa muqila. According to the other mufassirun is, of course, the Salat al-Tahajjud. So nashi'at al-layl awwalu nash'atin, right? And some of the scholars say there is different nash'ah all the way. So the first nash'ah, when you wake up for tahajjud in the last third, that's nashi'at al-layl. So you could do both, combine both. The nashi'at al-layl from the beginning of the night, and also from the beginning once you wake up for in the morning. And Salat al-Awwabin is something 6 rak'ah, that is the minimum. And one of my teachers, he said, if you want to, because I was a student at that time, and I asked him about the 6 rak'ah, he said you could combine the 2 sunnatul muakkada right after Maghrib and the 2 rak'at sunnah ghayr muakkada, which is not the emphasis sunnah, that 2 rak'ah, and then add another 2 more rak'at, and that will be altogether 6 rak'ah. And you intend for Salat al-Awwabin. And the maximum amount is 20 rak'ah. The great-grandson of the Prophet ﷺ, Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali radiallahu anhum, he used to pray those 20 rak'ats on a regular basis, daily basis. And he used to also put a lot of emphasis on praying them. According to some of the scholars, تَتَجَافَى جُنُوبُهُمْ عَنِ الْمَضَاجِعِ in Surah al-Sajdah, as we read in the morning of Jum'ah, in that there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they separate their sides from their beddings, meaning that they wake up and they leave their bedding and they pray. And he says, according to some of the mufassirun, that this is between Maghrib and Isha. That's why, according to one of the hadith, that it is disliked to go to sleep after Maghrib, because it's close to the night and you may sleep into the whole night and wake up and miss your Isha, or at least you will delay your Isha to a makruh, a disliked time. So that's why it's disliked. So involve yourself in something that is beneficial. And then he says, فَإِنَّهَا تذهب بملاغات النهار وتهذب آخره. He says that spending the last part of the entire day, especially between Maghrib and Isha, is making up, as we mentioned the 4 times, especially this time, you're making up for the rest of the day if you haven't done anything constructive, more beneficial. So to make up for the whole day, if you spend even a little bit of time towards the end of the day, which is between Maghrib and Isha, then you have made up a lot for the rest of the day. And تهذب آخره, it strengthens the leftover, meaning that it will strengthen you in terms of your spirituality, in terms of knowledge, in terms of being more productive. No. And then he says, when time Aisha enters, you pray 4 rak'ah before fard, right? And you say your dua between adhan and iqamah, and this is in general for any time. And the hadith says that the adhan the dua, the supplication that is done between the adhan and iqamah, that supplication is never rejected. Never rejected. So always, at least the dua for the adhan. That's the minimum, but you can add more du'as as we mentioned before. There's many du'as to say in the evening and in the morning. You could say some of those du'as as well. طيب, I think we will end over here. He talks about in the end Salat al-Witr according to the Shafi'iyah and the Hanabila. It is 2 salams, 3 rak'ats with 2 salams. According to the Hanafiya, it's 1 salam. According to all, it's 3 rak'ah. And it's recommended to say قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ the first rak'ah. سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى. Which surah number is that? سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى in the first rak'ah, قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ in the second, and قُلْ وَاللَّهُ أَحَدٌ in the third. And he says that if you are sure that you're going to wake up for tahajjud before Fajr enters, then you delay your witr, otherwise do it before you go to sleep. And that's the advice that the Prophet ﷺ gave to Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, to say your witr if you're not sure that you're going to wake up. إِلَّمْ تَتَّثِقْ بِالْإِنْتِبَاهِ فَصَلِّ قَبْلَ النَّوْمِ. To pray your witr salah before going to sleep. And if you wake up in the night, you can still pray tahajjud. There's no
Do you have to do qada for witr salah?
According to the Hanafiya, yes. Because it's a wajib. And if you miss a fard or a wajib, then you have to make that up. You have to make that up.
Specific instruction how to pray the witr, like specific way.
According to, these are prophetic ways. One madhab will differ from the other, and they're all fine. If you're following a specific madhab, then which is good. So you should stick with that way, acknowledging that the other way it's also perfect for those who follow that way, that madhab. So according to the Hanafiya, it's just like any other 3 rak'at, just like praying Maghrib Salah. The only difference is that you will recite a surah, as I mentioned, the Surah Al-Ikhlas or any surah in the 3rd rak'ah after Surah Fatiha. And the second difference is that after, you all prayed with us in Ramadan, before going to ruku', you raise your hand, you say Allahu Akbar, and you say the dua qunut. You could say any dua, but the recommended one is Allahumma inna nasta'inuka wa nastaghfiruka wa nu'minu bika wa natawakkalu alayk, all the way till the end. If you want to add a few more du'as, that's also fine. And then you go into ruku' and you complete the salah like any other salah. So that's a major difference. You do not make a salam after 2 rak'at. You continue after the 2nd rak'at to the 3rd. And you make it all with 1 salam. So that's the Hanafi way. According to the Shafi'iyah, you will separate the 2 rak'ah with a salam, and then you say 1 rak'ah, and you make dua in the end.
I have a follow-up question, but I'm not going to ask you right now.
What's the time for the awabin?
The awabin, anytime between Maghrib and Isha. Anytime between Maghrib and Isha.
Basically, if the Isha enters, still you can pray, or Maghrib?
Yes.
Still in the Maghrib time.
Yes, we can.
Even if
Inshallah.
it's-
Inshallah. It's best to do it before Isha enters, but he could still make that intention, inshallah. Any from the sister side?